Welcome to Mill History Talk, the podcast where we explore the past to better understand the profession of arms today. We dive into the campaigns, conflicts, issues, and commanders that have shaped military thinking across centuries, and why it all still matters. Whether you're an officer in training, a seasoned professional, a student of strategy, or simply curious about how history informs modern warfare, this space is for you. Our mission is simple: to foster insight, reflection, and critical thinking primarily through the lens of military history. Before we begin, a quick note. The views expressed in this podcast are of the podcast writers, hosts, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any government agency or organization. So, whether you're listening in a barracks, a lecture hall, at the gym, or in your car on the way to work, welcome. We're glad you're here. Hey everyone, I'm Hope, your smart, sassy, slightly nerdy tour guide through the battlefields of history. And this is episode 40 of Mill History Talk, the podcast where we dig into the drama, the strategies, and the not-so-glorious screw-ups that shaped our world.
And I'm Brian, your resident voice of calm and reason, here to make sure we stay at least mostly on topic, while Hope finds ways to compare Clausewitz to cat memes.
No promises. So, if you've been following along, you know our show has been moving chronologically through military history these past few months, from the ancient world to the Cold War and beyond. That's intentional, because when you follow strategy over time, you start to see the patterns that never really go away.
But today, we're stepping outside that timeline for a special deep dive, one that connects the past directly to the present. We're looking at Chinese strategy in the 21st century, through the lens of a concept that's changed how nations think about conflict: unrestricted warfare.
Exactly. This isn't just about history. It's about how the ideas born from history are reshaping global competition right now. Back in 1999, two PLA colonels, Liang and Xiangsui, published a little book called Unrestricted Warfare. Their argument? China couldn't beat a tech-superior power like the United States head-on, so it shouldn't even try. Instead, redefine what war means.
They called it warfare beyond bounds, and they meant that literally. Everything, finance, law, information, culture, could be used as a weapon.
So not just boots on the ground. It's influencers in your feed, chips in your phone, clauses in your trade deal.
It's a framework that sees conflict as constant, not episodic. You don't declare war, you just compete relentlessly until your opponent realizes too late that they're already losing.
Yikes. So war without limits, and without an off switch.
In the 2000s, the Chinese Communist Party built these ideas into something called the three warfares: psychological warfare, public opinion warfare, and legal warfare.
Translation: manipulate minds, shape narratives, and use the rulebook as a weapon.
Exactly. It's not about defeating armies, it's about defeating perceptions. Domestically, that means control of media and information. Internationally, it's about cultivating influence, funding think tanks, media partnerships, and diaspora groups that echo Beijing's perspective.
It's like a global marketing campaign for power projection. And sometimes it works better than missiles.
That's what Qiao and Wang predicted, that non-military means could be just as destructive or effective as conventional weapons.
Nowhere does that show up more clearly than in information warfare. Since Xi Jinping came to power, he's made it clear that media must bear the party's surname, meaning there's no such thing as neutral news in China.
And internationally, they've spent billions expanding state media like CGTN and Xinhua, buying stakes in local outlets, and funding Confucius institutes that blend culture with messaging.
They've even weaponized social media, wolf warrior diplomacy, online disinformation, you name it. During COVID, Chinese accounts pushed conspiracy theories to deflect blame and promote China's global image.
Unrestricted warfare predicted that too, that the battle for influence would move online. The new high ground isn't a hill, it's the algorithm.
That line's going in a t-shirt.
This might sound entirely modern, but the roots go deep. We actually talked about this back in episode 7 when we covered Mao's revolutionary warfare theory. Mao saw war as total, political, social, and psychological.
And Qiao and Wang basically upgraded that Maoist model for the digital age. Mix in Sun Tzu's idea of winning without fighting and Mahan's theory of sea power, which we will get to in a future podcast, and you've got the intellectual DNA of modern Chinese strategy.
Under Xi Jinping, all those threads come together. He's modernized the PLA, created the world's largest navy, and built out cyber, space, and information warfare forces.
So it's Sun Tzu's subtlety, Mao's mobilization, and Mahan's maritime obsession all wrapped in AI and 5G.
Well put.
Okay, quick story break, because this one feels like unrestricted warfare in real life.
In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled against China's sweeping territorial claims in the South China Sea, siding with the Philippines. On paper, China lost big.
But here's the twist. They just ignored the ruling. And while diplomats argued, Chinese dredging fleets and Coast Guard ships stayed put.
They turned 7 reefs into fortified islands, runways, missile sites, radar stations. No shots fired, no invasions, just slow, steady occupation.
Classic gray zone strategy. Stay below the threshold of open war, but keep changing facts on the ground until it's too late for anyone to stop you.
Or as Qiao and Wang might put it, the war that breaks the rules, but wins the advantage.
Now let's talk about money. Because if there's one thing unrestricted warfare nailed, it's that economics is just warfare in a nicer suit.
Exactly. China has used economic leverage as a weapon. Think of the 2010 rare earth embargo on Japan, or the trade restrictions against Australia in 2020. Both were political messages disguised as market decisions.
And then there's the Belt and Road Initiative. Sounds like a development project, but it's also a geopolitical one. You build a port, finance a loan, and voila, you gain influence and sometimes even access for your navy.
Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka is a perfect example. When Sri Lanka couldn't pay back its Chinese loans, Beijing took a 99-year lease. It's legal, it's peaceful, and it's strategically brilliant.
That's the unrestricted warfare playbook. Achieve dominance with plausible deniability.
And all while your opponent is still debating whether it's really war. There's also a broader strategic idea at work here. Deterrence without war. China's not looking for a fight. It's looking for control.
Right. They want to change behavior without crossing the line that forces a military response.
That's why they focus on presence. Ships in disputed waters, patrols around Taiwan, economic pressure on smaller states. It's about normalizing their dominance until it stops feeling like aggression.
It's Sun Tzu's dream scenario. Win without fighting. Or, as we might say, checkmate without moving your queen.
I like that. And it shows why understanding history matters. Because these patterns go all the way back to ancient Chinese strategic culture.
All right, let's slow down for a second. If you're listening and thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but what does it mean for me? Here's the thing.
Unrestricted warfare isn't just about China. It's about the changing nature of power in our interconnected world.
Exactly. Whether it's disinformation online, data theft, or economic dependency, we're all living in the environment Qiao and Wang imagined. You can't draw a clean line between war and peace anymore.
And that means citizens, not just soldiers, are part of the battlefield now. Information literacy, economic awareness, digital security, those are modern shields.
So you may not be holding a sword, but you're definitely holding a target. So, what's the end game here?
It's about dominance without open conflict. China wants to win by exhaustion, outlasting, outmaneuvering, and out-influencing.
And that's why this episode matters. Military history isn't just about battles, it's about the ideas that shape how nations think about conflict.
Exactly. Understanding unrestricted warfare isn't just academic. It's essential for modern strategy.
Because if you don't realize you're in a fight, you've already lost round one. So next time someone says we're not at war, maybe ask, are we sure about that?
Because in the age of unrestricted warfare, peace might just be the quiet part of the conflict.
Wow. Okay, that's officially the most chilling mic drop we've had this season.
History tends to do that.
True. All right, that's a wrap on today's March Through History. I'm Hope.
And I'm Brian.
And this has been Mill History Talk. If you enjoyed today's episode, check the notes. We've included a Substack link to a paper that dives even deeper into this topic, The Legacy of Unrestricted Warfare. It's an incredible academic look at how Qiao and Wang's ideas shaped China's grand strategy today.
And if you missed episode 7 on Mao's revolutionary warfare, go give it a listen. It's the perfect prequel to today's discussion.
Until next time, keep your strategy sharp.
And your humor sharper.
Catch you on the next episode.